Playfulness is so important because if you can make fun of your flaws, if you can joke, you can laugh, you can get through hard times. I'm a Black woman in America. Humor is how through generations we have gotten through a hard life. I mean, not to say my life is hard now, but speaking ancestrally and speaking as a community as a whole, humor gets us through shit.
Welcome to Garner Growth.
Welcome to Garner Growth.
What's up, fam? Welcome to another episode of Garner Growth. Today we're going to focus on green flags. And I wore green not only because it's my favorite color, but because we're talking about green flags, so I thought it would fit the theme. I want to bring more attention to focusing on the green flags in relationships, in situations, and with yourself. We really focus on fixing things a lot with personal growth. And you get so focused on what's wrong and how to fix that a lot of your attention goes to what's wrong because you're not trying to fix it. So I want to show you how we can focus on green flags and putting more attention on what's going right and what you're doing right and grow that, because wherever your attention is where things are going to grow the most. I wanted that to sound like, have a better flow to it than it did. But you get what I'm talking about. Wherever you focus your attention is where you're going to have the most growth, whether it's positive, negative, whether it's good or bad. So if you put all your attention on what you're doing wrong or what this other person's doing wrong, what's not right in your life, then it's going to grow. As far as perspective, a lot of your feelings and emotions and the actions that come from those emotions are going to be based off of all these things that you see that are going wrong. But if we turn that around and we put a lot of attention on the green flags, what's going right, focus on what you're doing, what your strengths are, what you're doing best, how your relationship is thriving, or the favorite parts of your relationship. Even if it's in a low place, putting your attention on your favorite parts of it and the parts that are going well can really help you develop the whole relationship, right? So sometimes it could save it, because if you put all your attention on what's wrong and you're constantly calling those things out and having talks about those things, then, it's just a lot of attention on the negatives. And also, this is a more positive perspective of relationships. It's a lot easier to find content around negative aspects of relationship. Narcissist is a big thing, right? So you can find a million videos around recovering from a narcissist, dating a narcissist, how to defeat a narcissist. And that's totally necessary because a lot of people are dealing with that, right? But then if you just focus on that, you'll end up all the time thinking about you dealing with this narcissism. Or if you're the narcissist, how can you have a healthy relationship because you're a narcissist? Versus focusing on what you're really good at. I'm very affectionate. I'm very considerate. I'm really good listener. I like to do little small gestures that make the person feel special. Those things exist as well at the same time as the qualities that you might not be so happy or proud about. And when you focus on the things that are your strengths and that you're good at and grow them, not that they make the other things go away, but they kind of dissolve a lot of times. Not every time, but they have this tendency to pervade and encompass your attention and your actions, so that even the things that are not so great and that are not going right, they seem smaller, they shrink, and they have a smaller impact on yourself, your relationship, on your mental real estate, because you're not thinking about them so much. So this is really a practice of redirecting your focus from something that's not as pleasant or negative to something that is a lot more positive and empowering, and just makes you feel like you're in alignment in life and that you're not always trying to fix something in life. And it can be really easy to get stuck on that track of always trying to fix something. There's always going to be something to fix. This whole channel is about personal growth. So we focus on fixing things, but really I call it the personal growth playground, because I continuously need to emphasize and remind myself and y'all that growth is something that can be enjoyable, playful. It's not so serious all the time. You know, you don't have to get into this fix-it mode and get stiff and rigid and be very so rigid in life. Loosen up. So I'm going to go through 5 green flags that you should look for in your relationships that I think are really important. And they're not like the classic ones, but if these things exist in your relationship, you have hope. For real, you got hope. I'm like, I don't know your situation, so I can't say that, but I hope that you have hope. So the first one is playfulness. Playfulness is so important because if you can make fun of your flaws, if you can joke, you can laugh, you can get through hard times. I'm a Black woman in America. Humor is how, through generations, we have gotten through a hard life. And I mean, not to say my life is hard now. It's really not. It's a great life. But speaking ancestrally and speaking as a community as a whole, humor gets us through shit. Like, and I would not be here today as this joyful person without humor. And so in the midst of relationship struggles, conflict, if you also have this great sense of humor in your relationship where you're able to laugh and make fun of things, you are doing something right. You have, that's a good brick in the foundation of your relationship. And it also draws to authenticity. So playfulness means that you don't take everything so seriously. And a lot of times without playfulness, you'll find yourself trying to be something that you're not. Trying to uphold being, whether it's a good girl or being, you know, this very masculine man, being wealthy, being, you know, having money when you don't, you know, just balling on a budget, you know, any of those things. If you're trying to uphold a facade of something that you're not, then that takes away the whole playfulness. That is, you're not playing no more. You are stiff because now you have to focus on being this image and maintaining it. And that really takes away the flexibility in a relationship. So on the same line of playfulness, I'm talking about flexibility. So it can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. It can be a big deal. It can be a little deal. And when you have the ability to move in and out of those different waves and peaks and troughs in your situations, then it means you have the flexibility to gravitate. It means you have the flexibility to gravitate. It means you have the flexibility to navigate through different situations in life, whether they're easy or hard, pleasant, unpleasant. When you have playfulness, it also alludes to flexibility and being authentic because, you know, life is not rigid. And also like childishness. Certain traits, when you're with the right person and you guys share a similar kind of humor, a lot of that humor comes from your childishness. And you want to be able to be yourself in that relationship, right? Which includes your childish quirks. Like, you know, whether you kick your feet when you're watching a movie or whether you have a certain fidget, you bite your nails, you have a funny laugh or really obnoxious laugh, and that person accepts it and loves it. That's playfulness. That is saying you don't have to be this certain way. You can be like this, you can be like this, you can be here, you can be there, and I'm with it. The next green flag to look out for is whether or not you recall details about the person. And this is you or the other person. Little things that they told you, little things that they like and don't like. Like, this is a really popular one in relationships between men and women, is smacking the ass, right? A lot of straight men do not want you to be smacking the ass. Understandably. But women like to do it, you know? It's just fun. And so this is a repeated thing for me. It was like, I'm really playful. And if this man does not want me to smack his butt, okay, I can't do that. That was way too direct. Way too direct. The second green flag to look for and to celebrate and focus on is remembering details. This person, you remember details about this person. And these are things that they like, things that they don't like, names of people that they've had conversations with you about, things that have happened at work. And the reason why this is a green flag is because it shows that they're engaged when you're speaking. They're actively listening to you, and it means enough to them. You mean enough to them to remember details. That, like, it's like a small thing, but it really shows that you matter. It feels like you matter when this person remembers little things about you. I have a really good memory, which doesn't mean like, it's not going to automatically translate to like, you know, you really matter to me, but it does mean that I was engaged in the conversation. And I just have a knack for details. So I'll remember things that people have said, and I'll remember like a name of somebody that they just mentioned years ago. I remember like the street they lived on, or the situation where, you know, they met this person, just little things. And they'll forget that they told me this, but I remember it. And that's just, you know, I have a good memory. That's one of my gifts. But it doesn't always say, oh, you really matter to me. But it does say I was engaged in the conversation. I was really listening to you, which regardless of relationship, it is a respectful thing. It means like, oh, we had a meaningful conversation. All right. So remembering details, it's really important. Like, I think the emphasis on knowing what this person doesn't like is also important, because when somebody doesn't like something, like whether it's a pet peeve, something that bothers them, and you remember not to do it, and you remember how it makes them feel, again, it shows that they matter. Engagement. I do not want to be responsible for you being triggered or being uncomfortable or, you know, having like a not so good experience. So I'm going to remember those little things that you don't like so that I don't do them. And it's a beautiful thing, right? And then also do remember the things they do like, because those little gestures of, oh, I got you this chocolate because I know you like this chocolate, or I didn't get you unsweetened tea because I know you like sweet tea. Why would you give me unsweetened tea? It's nasty. So, which it's not, just depends on the day. The third thing is verbal appreciation, expressing through words your appreciation. If you are in a relationship, and even at work, right? If you have a boss that says and calls out the things that they appreciate, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate that you did this. You did a great job on this. Thank you for remembering this. Just little things, everything, you know, big and small. It really like has some weight to it, especially when they accumulate and you start to feel seen. Everybody wants to feel seen. So even in the midst of conflict in a relationship, if you can express verbally what you appreciate about that person, what they're doing right, the things that you feel are special, especially to them, and make them special, then say those things. I know words of affirmation is not everybody's language of love, but the language of love are not like, they're not laws like that, you know? Just because it's not your go-to or what makes you comfortable doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like, do the awkward things, because everybody needs words of affirmation. You might not need it as much as another person, but everybody benefits from hearing words of appreciation. And so if you have that ability to do that, and that's already existing in your relationship, it's a green flag that definitely focus on and continue doing more of it. And if you're the person who is weak in that area, then allow yourself to be influenced by the other person and be inspired and mirror that action and do more. Just, you know, say more stuff sometimes. Show a little, verbal appreciation, because sometimes the actions don't hit as hard. They're not as obvious. And sometimes the words don't hit as hard, right? When you don't have action behind it. So I feel like both is necessary. But in the midst of, words of affirmation and appreciation are really accessible. It don't take a lot of work, effort. It's just calling out what you see and then giving compliments. That's another way of showing appreciation. I say, you look beautiful today. You look handsome today. Damn, you look good. You look like a whole snack. Like, just finding cute, even playful ways to affirm that person and like be their biggest cheerleader. Your kids, like your friends, like let them know they look good. Don't lie to them, but let them know when they look good. And affirm that for them. And it feels good. It's like, it's an act of service really too, because you are giving this compliment, this words of affirmation, and you're literally pulling them up in their mood. You're pulling them up in their confidence. And that is really valuable. Sometimes it's really needed too. Sometimes people are not feeling good about themselves, and just one little compliment from the right person, they own one. They feel it in themselves. And you just made their whole day. You shifted their whole perspective of their day. You boosted their mood so that everything that happens after that is now painted a beautiful rosy color and not booty brown. And the fourth green flag that I more recently really love and was more of a giver, not a receiver of it before, is encouragement and not so much encouragement. Being engaged in each other's goals and being a cheerleader for each other's goals. It's so sexy, you know? It's very empowering, and to have a cheerleader in your corner, and also to have somebody keep you accountable. So if you have goals and things that you're talking about, I want to do this, I want to do that, and you just talk about it, and the other person doesn't ever bring it up, doesn't ask about it, it's easily like gone by the wayside. You can forget about it if you're not like really self-motivated. But it makes a huge difference if you have somebody that continuously asks you about it, that checks in on what you said you was going to do, and asks you about, just shows interest in your goals, and you show interest in their goals. And it opens up that line of communication that I was talking about in the last episode, where now you are giving engagement and interest, and you're also receiving interest. And so now, not only are you manifesting your dreams through your visualizations and through your intentions, but you have somebody joining forces with you, because now they're visualizing it because they see you doing it, because they're asking you about it. And now you have two people amplifying that power of manifestation by talking about it, bringing it to life. And now you got a co-creator in your life. And that's a beautiful thing. So that's a green flag to look for in a relationship. And also, if you don't have that, plant that flag down. You start it. You start setting goals, asking about the other person's goals, following up. And you can do this on like a day of the week. It's good to, if you have busy schedules, to schedule things. And so like Sundays, self-care Sunday. So on Sundays, we have like our little, I don't say powwow, like a little meeting, self-care Sunday date, where you have a conversation and you reflect on your week, reflect on your needs that were met, needs that were not met, goals, failures, struggles, challenges, triumphs, how you feeling physically, emotionally, all those things, just set the space to reflect, and then share those reflections and engage with each other. So that's the fourth one, is supporting each other's goals and keeping each other accountable, especially if it's like a habit thing. It's really like, it's so hard to change a habit if you're in a relationship and the other person is doing the opposite of what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to lose weight and this person binge eats whatever because they have the metabolism of a mouse, then it's going to be really hard for you to be disciplined in what you eat. Not impossible, but just harder. So in the ways that you can, the ways that make sense, it's good to hold each other accountable for new habits, and then pair up with it if you can. Number 5, this is my number one: affection. Touching, being affectionate in words, having softness with each other. That can transcend most conflicts, most of them, not all of them. But if you have this softness with each other, where physically you're affectionate and verbally you're affectionate, where you're mindful of the tone that you talk to each other in, you're not trying to put each other down, then that is a green flag that can get you through anything. I'm going to refer back to the languages of love, because touch is some people's language of love, but as a human being, it's everybody's need. It's a human need to be touched. And affection is not really a human need. I feel like it's most things. Like you see lion cubs, lion prides, the whole pride sits there and cuddles with each other. The female lions, the female male lions do it, the baby lions do it. Everybody just cuddles, elephants do it. And so physical touch is how we relate. And so if you're in a relationship where your physical touch is limited or it's reduced or it's not sufficient for what you need, you don't feel that closeness, then that's going to really make it hard to feel connected overall. Even if y'all are both not affectionate, you could connect in your lack of affection. But as a human, I feel like there's still going to be some sense of closeness and intimacy lack there because you're not touching, you're not being affectionate. So 3 things you can do to increase your green flag of affection is hug longer. So you might already be hugging, coming and going from work when you see each other. Picking up the kids from school, hug them longer, to the point of awkwardness. 30 seconds. It's pretty long to do a hug, but it actually helps to stimulate the release of more oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone, which is the same hormone that got them kids breastfeeding. It's the same hormone that got you feeling connected and attracted to your partner through touch. So hugging a little bit longer, 30 seconds, getting past the point of awkwardness so that they know what an embrace is. They know what it feels like to be held and hold that space. It's not like a touch and go kind of hug. It's a big difference. Longer eye contact. So when you're talking, don't be afraid to hold that eye contact. If you're making love, don't be afraid to hold that eye contact a little longer. Not to the point of awkwardness, maybe. might kill the vibe, but a little bit longer so that you can establish that connection and it gets past that threshold of vulnerability. Just take a little step past the threshold and it makes a world of difference. And then the third thing to increase affection is to give disclaimers about how you feel when you're feeling awkward. So let's say you do get that long hug and it's okay, you're hugging and it's okay, this feels a little bit awkward, but let's stay here. Or I want to pull back, but I think we should stay here a little bit longer. And just talking yourself through it, talking the other person through it. If you are the one that's more comfortable, I know this is a little awkward, but let's just keep doing this for 10 more seconds and see how it goes. And by putting those disclaimers in and making it okay to verbalize how you feel while you're doing some awkward stuff, then it makes it a lot less awkward. And you've now opened up that line of communication even more and made it more stronger. I'm trying to look for the word. So yeah, talk about your awkwardness. Talk about, okay, this is really hard for me to talk about. This is awkward for me to talk about. I feel nervous telling you this. I've never shared this before because it feels a little weird, but whatever it is. And you not only you're being vulnerable and you're letting that person in on your emotional state, saying that it matters. Your emotional state does matter and it matters to our relationship and how you relate to me, how I relate to you, because that's part of who I am and I'm not going to omit it or pretend like it doesn't exist to try to, hold this comfortable space. Because really comfortable is relative. Is it comfortable because it is surface level and it's not authentic? Or is it comfortable because it's authentic and you can be yourself? It's vulnerable, right? There's a difference. And so those are the 5 green flags to look for. I'm going to go through the 5. Let's just ramble them out. So number 1 was playfulness. Being able to have a sense of humor in your relationship is a really solid brick in that foundation. So if you got that, recall, remembering details about each other, really strong brick. It means they're engaged, they're listening, and they want to remember things about you because they want to be more intimate with you. Intimacy means to know someone and to know someone on deeper levels. So the more that you are engaged and you can recall details, you're listening, it feels more intimate. Number 3 is verbal appreciation. Sharing those words of affirmation, calling out the things that you see that you like so that you could get to learn what each other needs and what each other likes. And you're also taking the focus off of what I don't like. But at the same time, remembering what they don't like. Number 4 is supporting and encouraging each other, holding each other accountable for your goals, for the things that matter to you, and things that you might be working on or engaged with. If you're on a team, you play volleyball, on the weekends, do they come to your games? Do they even know when your games are? When you have stories about people at work, do they remember that you told them that story? So being supportive also includes asking questions about it, and that just keeps the dream alive. So instead of having one person visualizing it and manifesting this thing, now you have multiple. And number five is affection. Affection is a real big brick in your intimate relationship. So that's family, kids, spouses, partners, things like that. People that you have this open, consensual, touching thing going on. And even if it's not touching, verbal affection is also very impactful. And that's softness. That's how you talk to somebody, your tone, your sweetness, and how you approach conflicts with them. And this just lets the other person know that this is a safe place. This is not my enemy. This is somebody that cares about me. And that keeps that connection growing. So we're going to do our sponsor shout out real quick. This week, we're going to talk about Crown. Crown is the only hair product that we have on greenbodywellness.com. It is Chebe butter. Chebe is from Chad. It's a mixture of seeds and resins, and it's leaves, and it's ground up into a powder. And it's used, not everybody in Chad, but there's a certain tribe of women in Chad that use it and coat their hair with it and then braid their hair. And so between the braiding and tight braids to keep it straight and stretched, and also coating it in this Chebe powder and tallow, like animal fat, then you reduce breakage. And so that's why you'll see pictures of these women that have really long hair, because it's not breaking off. A lot of the breakage that happens with kinky hair is because you have to like detangle it and knots get in it. And you have knots, it's like tying a string into a knot, right? So you can either break it or you can untie that string. If you're talking about brushing and combing, you are not untying no knot, you're breaking it off. So that's where a lot of our breakage comes from. Also because it's a skinny shaft of hair, so it's could be more brittle. But things like Chebe protects it, strengthens it, and it keeps the length there. So you can get that on greenbodywellness.com. It smells so good. There's no essential oils in here. It's fenugreek, Chebe, and amla powder. Amla is an Ayurvedic medicine. It's a fruit. It's dried and powdered, put in there. And there's like black castor oil. There's a mixture of oils, all made for moisturizing your scalp and keeping your scalp healthy. So you only want to put it on like once a week on moist hair. It's not like a high maintenance thing. And you'll notice that your hair stays thick and longer because it's not breaking off all the time. It's not dry. So you can get that on greenbodywellness.com. And again, that is Crown. I named it after the song. Also goes by the same name that I made. So you look up Crown by Goddess and Samaya, and you'll see this video that I made years ago. It's a really good song about hair. So your call to action this week is to write out your green flags. This is a journal prompt, and it could also be an activity, a date night activity, a self-care Sunday activity, where you sit down and you write down the green flags that you think, and you have your other person write down the green flags that they have in mind, and then you can compare notes and have a discussion around your green flags. Isn't that cute? Like imagine you can be at the park, you can have some tea, you can go get coffee, you can go have a drink, however you want to do it. You can do that, and then this is a way, like a conversation starter. So write down your green flags, switch notes, let's compare and talk about it. And then for yourself, if you're not in a relationship, what you can do is write down your green flags for yourself. What are you doing right in your relationship with yourself that you want to continue to grow and flourish, and you want to get stronger in those areas? And don't worry about the weaknesses and the things you're not doing right. This is just focusing on the green flags, and it'll feel different. It'll boost your mood, empower you, make you feel just more motivated and inspired versus cued in on like problem solving, or fixing yourself, and what's wrong with you. There's too much of that going on, right? So I hope you enjoyed this episode. What you can do for me, actually is for all of us, is like this episode, subscribe to the channel, and share the episode. Share it with somebody that you know would benefit, or just share it on your social media platform, whatever it is. But it's good stuff. If you think it's good stuff, you agree, then share it. And that helps me to stay motivated, to keep going, because then I'll see like, oh, more people are looking at it. Even though like 10 people looking at this is motivating for me, I'm still keep going. But, multiply that and I'm like, yeah, let's do some more. And then also in the comments, let me know what you got out of this episode. If there's any recommendations, some episodes you want to see, topics you want me to cover, and that pertain to mindfulness and relationships, let me know. If you think I'm wrong about something, you can also let me know. I'm not sensitive to negative comments. I'm not one of those creators. I can take it all because I'm pretty solid in what I'm doing. I've been doing it for a while. So if you have something to say that you don't agree with, let's have a conversation. All right. Until next time, lead with love and like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you next time.
Like, subscribe, share the growth.
If you are not ready for the day, it cannot always be